that the women and children in Haiti deserve peace like all other women and children and people around the world.
Look, we made my position known on ICC. You guys never keep the deal, but that's okay. We've made our position clear on the ICC. We don't recognize the jurisdiction of ICC the way it's being exercised, and it's that simple. We don't think there's an equivalence between what Israel did and what Hamas did. Okay, next. Do I ask the next question as well?
Let me ask Ayub Abdikadir from Kenya for the next question. Is Ayub? Oh, yeah, Ayub.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. One question, and this is on Haiti. President Biden, Kenya is rather doing the heavy lifting in a turbulent region, Somalia, South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Washington, as you have mentioned, has committed millions of dollars for the cause in Haiti. Isn't it ironic that while America is ending its forever wars in Afghanistan, the latest in 2021, under your leadership, when you withdrew troops from Kabul, and that you're committing Kenya to another foreign wars 12,000 kilometers away from Nairobi? I mean, why the discrepancy, why the dichotomy? While you're ending your forever wars, overseas wars, yet you're committing Kenya to Haiti. Can you explain that?
Very easily. There's a reason why Afghanistan has been known as the graveyard of empires. The likelihood of anybody uniting Afghanistan is highly, highly, highly unlikely, number one. Number two, there are ways to control ISIS other than occupying Afghanistan. It was an unnecessary need. Now, with regard to Haiti, Haiti is in an area of the Caribbean that is very volatile. There's a lot going on in this hemisphere, and we're in a situation where we want to do all we can without us looking like America once again is stepping over and deciding this is what must be done. Haitians are looking for help, as well as the folks in the Caribbean are looking for help. And so we checked out with a number of other countries. The one who stepped up was Haiti. We committed to provide the wherewithal, the intelligence and equipment and the like to Haiti. And so it's a logical thing. And you have a first-rate capability, and you keep your word. That's an important dynamic.
I agree with President Biden that Kenya's participation in Haiti is not so much about what happened in the past. It's about what we believe in, the peace and security of humanity. And we don't find that the U.S. is committing Kenya because the U.S. cannot commit Kenya. I am the president of Kenya. It's me to make that decision. And it's the people of Kenya to commit their own troops using their own structures. We've gone through the processes in Kenya. Parliament has approved. We have a clear mandate. We have a clear framework. And it is us, the people of Kenya, who made this decision in the interest of serving peace and stability as a responsible global citizen, and understanding that insecurity, instability anywhere is insecurity and instability everywhere.
And by the way, you implied that we weren't doing anything anywhere else. Well, we're kind of occupied around the world, but we're also engaged in Congo, in the neighborhood. And, we can continue to help alleviate human suffering there. The United States is the largest humanitarian donor, providing $375 million in humanitarian funding just this year, including support for more than 6 million displaced people from the DRC. So we are engaged in more than one place.
Follow up to my president, Dr. Ruto. You said that Kenya is committed, and in your Carter speech in Atlanta, you said it's based on humanitarianism, helping Haiti out. But can you explain the geopolitical goal, 12,000 kilometers away from Nairobi, when schools in the counties of Baringo, West Pokot, and Turkana have not yet opened because of the banditry problem, yet you are committing our national police force to Haiti And where is the priority? This being one of your major manifesto pillars, talking about security, and to the extent that even the Defense Cabinet Secretary talked about the deployment of, if need be, the Kenyan military or the special personnel to make sure that schools are open, children go to school in areas that are bandit-prone in Kenya. Why are you committing to Haiti when we have a problem back home? Is it an irony that you are putting the fire in the faraway neighbor's home when when our own home is on fire?
Thank you very much. I made a commitment to the people of Kenya to sort out insecurity in the North Rift. I have followed that with action. As we talk, there are 3,000 military officers in the North Rift, 2,000 police officers in the North Rift. We have renovated the first 15 schools and completed. We have reopened 20 schools already that were closed in the North Rift. And that exercise is ongoing. We have made tremendous progress in making sure that we create security at home, but that does not take away our responsibility. Even as we were deploying troops and policemen in our own country, in North Rift, to sort out the banditry problem, we still deployed 1,000 troops to DRC Congo, because that is our neighborhood. We have 5,000 troops in Somalia, because equally that is our responsibility. And Haiti should not be an exception. That's why deploying 1,000 security men to Haiti speaks to the same belief and commitment to peace and security.
Next question from April Ryan.
Mr. President, President Biden, President Ruto, thank you. First of all, when you talk about Haiti, President Ruto, you said Haiti is a collective responsibility for all nations. And for you, Mr. President, President Biden, President Ruto, do you believe that these nations can break the back of this militia that has gripped the nation there? And also, when it comes to Congo, thank you, Mr. President, for bringing up what the United States is doing for the Congo, especially as that flag was behind you at Morehouse. Mr. President, could you tell me what the African Union is doing, as well as Kenya is doing, when it comes to the humanitarian crisis in the Congo? Thank you.
What was my question?
Sir, your question was Haiti. Can the United States and Kenya, or the nations collectively, break the backs of this coordinated militia that has the grips of the nation? That nation. Thank you.
Yes. The very way we're doing it. We're not talking about a 1,000-person army that's made up of trained persons. This is a crisis. It's able to be dealt with. And we think we can deal with this way with a multinational approach, with Haiti leading the way and us providing the intelligence as well as equipment.
Gangs and criminals do not have nationalities. They have no religion. They have no language. Their language is one. To deal with them firmly, decisively, within the parameters of the law. And that's why we're building a coalition of nations beyond Kenya and the US, many who are making contribution towards the MSS force in Haiti to secure that country and to break the back of the gangs and the criminals that have visited untold suffering in that country. On DRC, the AU, the East African Community, and Kenya are seized with that matter. I've just told you that Kenya had 1,000 troops in Haiti. We now have another 800, not in Haiti, but in DRC. We now have another 800 troops from SADC. We are going to be having a meeting of the East African Community I did send my my foreign minister to Kinshasa. They had a conversation. And shortly, we will be looking at how to begin the dialogue process under the Nairobi process, because we believe there is no military solution to what is going on in DRC, but instead, dialogue should be able to give us the necessary momentum and outcomes that would settle the matters in Eastern DRC. So both the AU, the East African Community, and Kenya as a country are seized of that matter. We know that the humanitarian crisis in Eastern DRC has displaced close to 7 million people. And I want to thank the United States of America for stepping in with humanitarian support for that region, because it is a collaboration of different countries in different ways to deal with that situation. The rest of us are committing troops. We are committing deploying our infrastructure to facilitate the resolution of the matters in DRC. Let me ask Nancy Agutu from Kenya. She's here. Okay, Nancy.
Mr. President, Africa is asking America to lead the way and double its contribution to the World Bank's International Development Assistance to help developing countries access more financing, to alleviate debt distress, and to tackle climate change. What is your commitment on this? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all your question.
Sorry, I'm saying Africa is asking America to lead the way and double its contribution to the World Bank's International Development Assistance to help developing countries to access financing to alleviate debt distress and to tackle climate change. What is your commitment on this?
We made a major commitment to this. Number one, as I said, the United States has long championed international financial institutions that provide low-cost concessional resources to the poorest developing countries, including from the IMF. To that end, my administration helped design and establish the IMF's new initiative that provides low-cost funding for countries that are taking steps to enhance their resilience. Important partners in Africa have the capital they need to ensure they have the capital they need to invest in their futures. We heard them and we stand with them. Now, that's why we've worked with Congress to enable the United States to make available in the coming weeks up to $21 billion in new lending resources to the IMF Trust Fund that provides concessional lending to the poorest countries. It's a little like, having to go when you're in debt, having to go and find someone to help you out. That's what this is about. We believe supporting friends, and this partnership is we're happy to do our part. And look, we've also doubled our commitment to the IDA. And I'm proud the United States is the biggest donor to the IDA in this cycle. I'm proud to be working alongside Kenya to support robust financing and policy packages that are going to help the most vulnerable countries address their investment needs. There's debt and there's growth. And you got to deal with the debt before you deal with the growth. And so we're trying to use international lending organizations to be able to provide that capability so people can grow. That's what it's about.
Will you allow the French to strike the flag?
Whoa!
This concludes the press conference. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, you, everybody. This concludes the press conference. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Introducing Blueband with Choco. So yummy with 5 good starch vitamins. The goodness of Blueband with delicious Choco. Taste the 2-in-1 Choco goodness today. Blueband with Choco. Available in stores countrywide.
Basta. Frequency gani? Soundbox kwa. Ambia master ndio soundbox kwa. Tuko. Tuko fit.
Distinguished guests, please rise if you are able, as honors are rendered to the President and remain standing for the arrival of the President of the Republic of Kenya and Her Excellency Rachel Ruto, and the playing of the national anthems of the Republic of Kenya and the United States. Distinguished guests, the President of the United States and Dr. Jill Biden. Distinguished guests, the national anthem of the Republic of Kenya, followed by the national anthem of the United States. Distinguished guests, please be seated.
Unajua nataka kumuona vizuri.
Distinguished guests, the President of the United States.
Good morning. Hold the rain off. President Ruto, Mrs. Ruto, and your three lovely daughters who are here to my left. Nice. Welcome, 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 welcome. And all the distinguished guests, on behalf of myself and Jill, Vice President, Second Gentleman, and the American people, it's an honor to welcome you to the White House to celebrate 60 years of partnership between Kenya and the United States. At the stroke of midnight, that's worth applause. At the stroke of midnight on December 12, 1963, the world changed. Many Americans and many people around the world watched with great hope and great anticipation as hundreds of thousands of Kenyans came together, raised a new flag, declared their freedom, and gave life to a new nation. Ladies and gentlemen, that new democracy is endearing and enduring. It was a moment that forever connected our two nations. For while we may have been divided by distance, we were united by the same democratic values. I saw this during my first trip to Kenya as a young senator at the height of the Cold War, and watched our governments stand as one and prevail against communism. I saw it when I returned years later as vice president and spoke to students committed to upholding the principles of transparency, justice, and accountability that lie at the heart of our democracies. And I see it every day as president, as our two proud democracies continue to draw from the power of the people and the strength of our diversity to write the next chapter in our partnership. Together, the United States and Kenya are working to deliver on the challenges that matter most to our people's lives: health security, economic security, cyber security, and climate security. Mr. President, your bold leadership on this front has been important and significantly impactful. 90% of Kenya's electricity comes from clean energy. 90%. That's worth an applause. Over 1 million homes are powered by wind energy alone. That's worth applause, too. An historic Africa Green Industrialization Initiative, which you launched last year, is poised to create similar results in so many other nations, particularly in the continent. Across the region, Kenya and America are driving a race to the top with investments that we have and high standards for workers, technology, and environment. And we're working to ensure debt doesn't leave these critical investments and crucial investments out of reach for low and middle income countries. Around the world, Kenya and America are also standing united against the terror of ISIS and al-Shabaab perpetrate in East Africa, that they continue to perpetrate in East Africa. The aggression that Russia is inflicting on Ukraine, the violence that has toppled too many democracies across both our regions. And today, as we begin the next decade of our partnership, we've launched a new initiative to bring our countries, companies, and communities closer together, because the past is our proof that we are stronger and the world is safer when Kenya and the United States work together. Let me close with this. We stand at an inflection point in history where the decisions we make now will determine the course of our future for decades to come. Today, I'm as optimistic and hopeful as I was those years ago when Kenya patriots raised that new flag high in that midnight sky. Because Kenya and the United States stand together, committed to each other, committed to our people, and committed to building a better world, one of greater opportunity, dignity, security, and liberty for all Americans, for all Kenyans. God bless our partnership, and may God bless our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Distinguished guests, the President of the Republic of Kenya.
Thank you. President Joe Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, Madam Vice President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Jambo. Let me take this opportunity in a very special way to bring you warm greetings from the people, the government of Kenya, and your brothers and sisters across the African continent. I want to thank President Biden for extending an invitation to me to undertake this state visit, a sign of friendship and partnership and collaboration between two countries that share common values, values of freedom, democracy, rule of law, equality, and inclusivity. We are a very proud democratic nation. And today, as we celebrate our past, we are optimistic about our future. That by undertaking this state visit, we will have the opportunity to discuss and to have a conversation around the issues that pose challenges regionally, globally, and in countries like Kenya and many others. Challenges around debt, distress. And today we have to build a future that is much more promising, much more prosperous, a fairer, a freer, a healthier, and a much more prosperous future. I am confident, Mr. President, that a partnership between the United States of America and Kenya will give us the solutions that the world so seriously needs. And we will be discussing a range of issues from peace and security in our region, recognizing the heavy lifting Kenya is doing in supporting peace and security efforts in the Horn of Africa, in the Great Lakes region. And I want to say, Mr. President, we value the support, the friendship, and the collaboration the United States has given Kenya and our region to make sure that we undertake our responsibilities in securing our region. Mr. President, we will also be having the opportunity to discuss the investment opportunities, trade, and hopefully we will be able to persuade the United States to renew the Africa Growth and Opportunities Act that gives Africa the opportunity for access to markets so that we can create more jobs, we can create more wealth, and we can spread prosperity across our continent. And hopefully also we will conclude on our strategic partnership, on our strategic trade and investment partnership that will give us the opportunity in Kenya to work with companies in the United States and to build greater synergy around our continent on matters to do with trade, investment, especially as we put together the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and twin it with the United States, as we discussed at the Africa Leaders Summit last year, giving us an opportunity to build greater partnership between the continent of Africa and the United States. Mr. President, I know that our menu of discussion is broad and wide, and I am confident that under your leadership, we will be able to build a freer, a healthier, and a much more prosperous Kenya, United States, and for people around the world. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, please rise if you are able for the conclusion of the ceremony and departure of the official party.
Mr. President, this concludes the ceremony.
Okay, thank you very much. Good to be with you all. We're in a very critical phase of our war against the coronavirus. It's vital that every American follows our guidelines on the 30 days to slow the spread. The sacrifices we make over the next 4 weeks will have countless American lives saved. We're going to save a lot of American lives, and we're in control of our own fate, very much so. Maintaining social distance, practicing vigorous hygiene, and staying at home are your most effective ways to win the war and to escape danger. While you're fighting this battle from home, we're working with the best scientists, doctors, and researchers anywhere in the world. We're racing to develop new ways to protect against the virus, as well as therapies, treatments, and ultimately a vaccine, and we're making a lot of progress. I think medically a lot of progress. At the same time, we're also racing to get relief to American workers and small businesses, as you know. I want to remind small business owners across America that the Paycheck Protection Program is launching tomorrow. Nearly $350 billion in loans will be available to small businesses, including sole proprietors. These loans are up to 100% forgivable as long as employers keep paying their workers. Got to take care of your workers. Furthermore, we want Social Security beneficiaries to know that if they are typically not required to file a tax return, they don't have to file one in order to receive the direct cash payments that will soon be distributed to American citizens. The Treasury will deposit the money directly into the bank accounts, and don't forget, I will always protect your Social Security, your Medicare, and your Medicaid. We're protecting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and I always will. I'd like now to invite SBA Administrator Jovita Carranza, who's doing a fantastic job. She's going to be very busy in the next little while, and Secretary Steve Mnuchin to say a few words about these vital initiatives, and then we'll get on to the attack of the virus itself. And please, if I might, Steve and Jovita.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And Mr. Vice President, Secretary Mnuchin, Ivanka Trump, and all who I have been working closely with in this effort. Small business is the backbone of the American economy, and the President has put the nation's 30 million small businesses front and center in the response effort, and we are working hard to get money to them quickly. This is an unprecedented effort by this administration to support small businesses, and we know that there will be challenges in the process. Secretary Mnuchin and I are working in tandem to ensure that feedback from our partners is being heard and implemented. The private and public sector must work closely together to ensure that small businesses and their workers across the country are put first. This administration believes wholeheartedly that if you are a small business, you are a critical part of the economic fabric of this country, and your viability is critical to the economic well-being of your employees. At SBA, we are working around the clock to support small businesses, ensuring that we are prioritizing emergency capital for small businesses that are suffering economic harm as a result of this unprecedented situation. This relief will help stabilize the small business sector by providing businesses with the financial resources they need to keep their workers employed and keep up with their day-to-day operating expenses. Today, I want to ensure that small businesses all over the country know about the Paycheck Protection Program and how they can benefit from this. Simply put, the Paycheck Protection Program is to help keep employees on payroll and small businesses open. SBA will forgive the portion of the loan that is used toward job retention and certain other expenses. We are working closely with lenders so that businesses can go directly to their local lenders. Paycheck Protection Program is in addition to substantial work that the SBA has and will continue to do to help small businesses, including providing advances on SBA disaster loans and forgiving existing SBA loan payments over the next 6 months. Additional details on these critically important programs can be found at sba.gov, and we will be updating these resources regularly. Our hearts go out to those affected by this terrible virus. Our communities around the country are stepping up, and we will get through this together. At SBA, we know that every phone call, email, or application submitted has a small business owner, their employees, and the communities they support are on the other side. Our most important objective is to allow small businesses to keep their employees on board and keep their businesses viable through this unprecedented disruption. I want to reiterate the importance of patience in this process as we work together to ensure that businesses are able to access needed credit. We will continue working around the clock as we've done with our federal and private sector partners, expanding capacity and working to make our systems as robust as possible to meet the needs. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Jovita. Mr. President, you've made clear to us we now need to execute. We need to get money to small business and American workers, and that's what we're doing. The SBA and Treasury committed to get this program up and running tomorrow, and when Jovita says people working around the clock, we had both teams working till 4 o'clock in the morning and start working again today. We've heard feedback from lenders, community banks, regional banks, and we spent the last 24 hours making this system even easier. So this will be up and running tomorrow. I encourage all small businesses that have 500 or fewer people, please contact your lenders. Any FDIC institution will be able to do this, any credit union, existing SBA lenders, and fintech lenders. You get the money, you'll get it the same day. You use this to pay your workers. Please bring your workers back to work if you've let them go. You have 8 weeks plus overhead. This is a very important program. I'm pleased to announce we are going to raise the interest rate on these loans. And again, the interest rate is paid for as part of the program. The borrower doesn't have to pay this to 1%. We had announced it was going to be 50 basis points. We've heard from some smaller community banks that their deposit costs, even though the government's borrowing at 3 or 4 basis points, this is on average a 90-day loan. To make this attractive for community banks, we've agreed to raise the interest rate. Again, I encourage everybody, take out the Paycheck Protection Program. I'm also pleased to report the economic impact payments. I had previously said this would take us 3 weeks. I'm pleased to report that within 2 weeks, the first payments will be direct deposit into taxpayers' account. And as the President said, last night the President authorized me to say that anybody that has Social Security recipients won't need to file a new tax return, and we'll have that. If we don't have your direct deposit information, we'll be putting up a web portal so that you can put that up. It is a very large priority. The President has made clear we want to get this money quickly into your hands. I'm also pleased to report that we continue to work closely with the Federal Reserve. We're in the process of designing a new facility that we call the Main Street Lending Facility. We're also looking at facilities for state governments as well. And I'm also pleased to report the Employee Retention Credit. It's up and running. The first $10,000 of wages, you get a 50% credit. That's $5,000 per person. For everyone who's kept someone, you can immediately get that money. You can deduct it from what you owe the IRS immediately. If you don't owe us money, you'll get a refundable tax credit. So that is up and running. I'm also pleased to report we have the program up and running. We're taking applications from the airlines, from the cargo companies, and from national security companies. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Steve. For Jovita or Steve, any questions, please?
Yes. Mr. Secretary, Chase Bank sent a letter to its business clients today saying that they don't have necessary guidance from the SBA, from the Treasury Department, to be able to accept loan applications starting tomorrow. The need is clearly enormous, but at least one major bank says they're not fully empowered yet to be able to help there?
Well, as I spoke to all the CEOs yesterday, I had a conference call with them. We got very good input from them on what they needed. As I said, people were working till 4 o'clock. I believe we just put up the Federal Register with the new guidelines for lenders. I've been assured that the banks will be in the process starting tomorrow. Now, again, it's going to take a little bit of time, but we committed that this will be available tomorrow, and I encourage all companies, go to SBA.com, go to Treasury.gov. You can see the information you need immediately.
Mr. Secretary, just to follow up with the small business owners, a number of them saying that they were on that conference call and that there's a tremendous power struggle going on between the Treasury and SBA, and that it's over process and forms is what they tell me, and that lenders are actually opting out because they can't make enough money to even service the loans. So how are you going to make sure these small business owners get the capital they need to survive right now?
Well, first of all, I can assure you, Jovita's here. Jovita used to work for me as the treasurer. There's no power struggle. Jovita and our team, as I said, worked together till 4 o'clock in the morning, started working at 7 o'clock again. We've made the form simpler, and I can assure you at 5 points, I've told these bankers they should take all their traders and put them in the branches. So there'll never be another opportunity to earn 5 points on a 90-day fully government guaranteed loan.
And those checks right into direct deposit, IRS now saying it take 4 to 5 months. You're saying 2 weeks.
Well, let me be clear. I don't know where let me be clear. I don't know where you're hearing these things. I told you this would be 3 weeks. I'm now committing to 2 weeks. We're delivering on our commitments. The IRS, which I oversee, within 2 weeks, the first money won't be in people's accounts.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I think the question is not about the first checks. For folks who have direct deposit, sounds like those will go out pretty quickly. The question is then for folks who don't have direct deposit, and there was a staff memo that was released by the House Ways and Means Committee today saying that that process could take up to 5 weeks. That takes you to mid-August. Is that how long it's going to take?
That is not going to take 5 months. Again, let me just say, when Obama sent out these checks, it took months and months and months. I am assuring the American public they need the money now. What we're going to do is we have 2 weeks. Social Security, you'll get it very quickly after that. If we don't have your information, you'll have a simple web portal. You'll upload.
How many checks can you?
Again, we can process a lot of checks.
There have been sites to submit the applications. The website's been crashing. I've heard of webinars going offline because there's just too many people on that.
The system will be up and running. We encourage people over the next week. Sign up. You can go on right now. You can go on the web, see what information you need. Very simple process.
Mr. Secretary, on a separate subject, have you been in touch with Leader McConnell and Speaker Pelosi about their differences right now about another stimulus package?
I've spoken to the leader. I've spoken to the speaker. I've spoken to the president constantly. When the president's ready and thinks we should do the next stage, we're ready. The president's talked about the issue of infrastructure since the campaign. I think that's a big priority for him. And again, if we run out of money on the small business program, we'll be back right away to Congress to get this increased.
Does the unemployment numbers today increase the urgency of doing a phase 4?
Well, let me just say, we're going through something that we've never done before, where the government has shut down big parts of the economy because of health reasons. Our economy was in great shape. Our companies were in great shape. There are 3 ways that Americans are going to be protected. For small business, they'll get paid by their business through this program. The direct deposit. There's also enhanced unemployment. So we realize, unfortunately, there are a lot of companies that, because they aren't in business over a short period of time, again, we're working with the states on enhanced unemployment. And as soon as the medical professionals and the president give the all clear, we're going to have a ton of liquidity. We have about $6 trillion. This has never been done between us and the Fed to put into the economy to support American workers and American business.
Secretary, in addition to the jobless numbers we saw today, Phase 3 was signed before the social distancing guidelines were extended for another month. So what additional relief are you going to give to Americans as they stay out of work for all these extra weeks? I mean, what are you waiting for?
Well, in designing this program, we thought that we had liquidity for about 10 weeks, and that's what we've designed. And again, I think the president's been very clear. If we need to go back to Congress to support the American economy and American workers, we will be doing that.
Mr. Secretary.
Secretary Mnuchin, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has formed a select committee to oversee the distribution of recovery funds, and she says she wants to make sure that those funds are wisely and efficiently spent. Do you think that select committee is something that's necessary?
I don't. I mean, you know, both parties wanted us to have oversight, wanted us to have transparency. We have full transparency. We have a oversight committee that the speaker gets to pick someone, the leader gets to pick someone. I believe there's 5 people on it. And again, that committee will review the money that we're spending. And again, we support full transparency. Taxpayers should understand how we're going to support this economy and jobs.
Mr. Secretary, Senator Murkowski has asked you to consider providing loans to energy companies under the CARES Act, the Phase 3 bill. What are your thoughts on that? Would you consider providing those loans to energy companies?
So thank you, and let me clarify. I have very limited ability to do direct loans out of the Treasury. I can do them for passenger airlines, cargo airlines, contractors, and national security companies. Outside of that, we work with the Federal Reserve to create broad-based lending facilities, which we will do. So our expectation is the energy companies, like all our other companies, will be able to participate in broad-based facilities, whether it's the corporate facility or whether it's the Main Street facility, but not direct lending out of the Treasury.
A question for clarity about the direct payments to Americans. For those folks who don't have bank accounts, who don't have direct deposit information on file with the IRS, how long would they have to wait for their check?
Well, for people who don't have direct deposit, again, we'll have an easy way they put it up. We can, on a rolling basis, I think, you know, within a couple of days when they give it to us, we'll send the money out. We do realize there are people who are underbanked. And again, we're working with all the digital companies, prepaid debit cards. We're working with all of them to make sure we have a process that every American gets their money quickly. This money does people no good if it shows up in 4 months, and we will deliver on that promise.
So quickly is a matter of weeks then, perhaps, not months.
Quickly is a matter of weeks and not months. That's correct.
Would you consider a moratorium on...
Go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, one area where you can make direct loans is to the airlines. How much do you expect that the Treasury Department and the federal government will be involved in overseeing the operations of airlines as it pertains to which routes get cut back, how much they operate, what they do about their employees, and the like?
So there are very strict requirements that's built into the bill. Again, this was a bipartisan requirement. One, anything we do with the airlines, they have to maintain substantially all of their employees. So again, any money that we provide them will go to pay their employees. We're going to be working with the Secretary of Transportation. There are requirements to maintain certain routes. So again, we have a very clear process. We've hired 3 outside advisors, will be financial advisors, and 3 law firms. We'll be releasing that information shortly. And I want to thank them. They're all working for basically very, very little money. They couldn't work for free, so they've agreed to basically work for what they would sign up to work for charitable organizations. So again, no big fees to bankers. We got a great team of 3 lawyers and 3 financial advisors that will assist us.
Mr. Secretary, just to follow up on that, will you give us a list of the names of those people who are advising you when you release the information?
Of course we will. We'll give you the names as well as the contracts.
Do you have any names right now other than BlackRock?
So again, I'm happy to announce it. We have the PJT Partners, okay, is going to do the passenger airlines. Moelis & Company is going to do the cargo and contractors, and Perella Weinberg will handle the national security. And there'll be 3 law firms which we'll announce shortly that will be working in each one of those sectors. And again, let me just be clear. We need to get this done quickly. The airlines need money. We're going to work very closely with the Department of Transportation and get this done quickly. We've actually already received contracts from a lot of the people. Again, there's guidance up on the web. Full transparency, we've asked for applications.
Secretary, on the airline issue again, Speaker Pelosi and others have said that the government taking stakes in those airlines should not be a condition for the federal government to provide payroll support specifically. What's your response to that?
I spoke to the Speaker last night about that. This was something that was highly negotiated between the Republicans and the Democrats. The President was personally involved in this. He was on the phone with us many times. Mitch McConnell, Mark Meadows, senators on both sides. There is a specific line in the bill that says that the secretary, meaning me, will determine proper compensation, so this is not a bailout for the airlines, and I will be working, once we get our advice from our financial advisors, we get the applications from the airlines, I'll be working very closely with the president, and we'll make sure that we strike the right balance, not a bailout, taxpayers get compensated, but these airlines, these are national security issues, we want to keep our airlines intact.
Mr. Secretary, just more broadly, perhaps for the administrator, if not for you as well, some small businesses, restaurant owners, for example, are finding that laying off their employees so that they can start collecting unemployment is better both for them as business owners and for their workers. What incentives do they have right now to keep their employees on the payroll if no one's coming into their restaurants?
Well, the incentive that you have, and we want American business to be kept intact. The incentive is these are loans that turn into grants. So if you're a business owner and you're a restaurant, you can hire your people back. You get money for their medical. You keep them on the medical plan. You get money for your rent. You get money for your electricity. So you're motivated. We want you to have a business that you can reopen quickly when it's appropriate. So this doesn't cost the business owners anything. You know, when people talk about, I can't imagine any American worker who had a job, is offered to keep their job, isn't going to want to have it. And let me just be clear, we've also talked about this unemployment issue. You can only get unemployment if you don't have a job. So unemployment is intended for those people that are some of the mid-size or larger businesses, and we're very sympathetic to this, that these companies can't afford. And for those people, the enhanced unemployment will be a significant benefit. But we want to make sure 50% of the American workforce is small businesses under 500 people. The president, the vice president, the administrator, and I want to make sure this part of the economy is ready and intact when we're ready to reopen.
Question for the administrator, if I may. Is there a certain category of small businesses that you're most concerned about? Restaurants, hair salons, things like that?
That's a great question. We're concerned 3 million small businesses that we're really focused on, and we're working feverishly to make sure that we can provide the available funds to them as quickly as possible. So it's 30 million small businesses, and the other businesses are the injury or economic injury disaster loan. And then there was an advance associated with that particular program as well. So to answer your question, we're concerned about all businesses. And as the Secretary indicated, we're looking at employees being ready, not lost in this process. We want businesses to stay intact because they represent half the GDP. So if we spend $1 trillion to support 10 trillion or 11 trillion, I think that's a significant investment, and that's what we're focused on.
Is there a certain segment that you think is particularly vulnerable?
Hang on, I just want to make one comment for explanation because I want to make sure everybody out there understands this. If you're an independent contractor, if you're a sole proprietor, you're eligible for this as well. Now, that program won't be up and running until next week, but again, this is a very broad definition of small business. So if you're an independent plumber, if you're an independent contractor, you're covered under this program. Slightly more complicated, you have to come into your bank and give them more information, but starting next week, that part of the program will be up and running. Also, charities. Charities as well, very important. The Vice President and President make sure that we covered small charities in this.
Does that include churches and religious nonprofits?
It does, although there are some technical issues, but yes, it does include faith organizations.
Is that under that's under the SBA program?
This is under the PPP, yes, the new SBA program, they are covered.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Okay, so that begins right away, and they start handing out checks, and a lot of people are going to have their businesses built back up quickly, I hope. And we'll see. Complicated, big, small business is actually big business. So I thank them both. And please, good. We have some great gentlemen. Let me see. Great gentlemen. That's correct. Thank you very much. Today, my administration is also issuing new guidelines to protect elderly Americans who remain the most vulnerable. By now, nursing homes should have suspended the entry of all medically unnecessary personnel Today, we're further recommending that all nursing home facilities assign the same staff to care for the same group of residents consistently to minimize any potential spread. And we're also urging facilities to designate separate areas for healthy and sick residents. And this is a practice that we probably will be recommending into the future long after the enemy is gone, this particular enemy is gone. We're also making every effort to provide relief to our great veterans. We take very good care of our veterans. At my direction, Secretary Wilkie will use any authority at his disposal to extend deadlines for benefits and to postpone debt collections. We're now conducting well over 100,000 coronavirus tests per day. It's over 100,000 tests a day. And these are accurate tests, and they're moving rapidly, which is more than any other country in the world, both in terms of the raw number and also on a per capita basis, the most. The FDA has also authorized the first coronavirus antibody test developed by Cellex, a key step that will help identify people who have recovered and to understand their immune response and their immune system. Moments ago, I directed Secretary Azar and Acting Secretary Wolf to use any and all available authority under the Defense Production Act to ensure that domestic manufacturers have the supplies they need to produce ventilators for patients with severe cases of COVID-19. You know what that is, right? Become a very famous term. COVID, COVID. This action will help General Electric, Hill-Rom, Medtronic, ResMed, Royal Philips, and Vyaire Medical overcome obstacles in the supply chain that threaten the rapid production of ventilators. We have over 100,000 being built right now or soon to be started. We anticipate issuing more orders under the Defense Production Act in the very near future, in addition to the one that I've just signed against 3M for face masks. We just signed a element of the act against 3M, and hopefully they'll be able to do what they are supposed to do. Just spoke to Mary Barra of General Motors, and she said they're very soon going to be ready to start production of the ventilators. They have a lot of ventilators that they've committed to build, and they'll be starting very, very quickly. FEMA continues to deliver resources to areas most affected by the virus, including New York. On top of the 3,000 beds we're already providing to the Javits Center, the Department of Defense is adding another 48 ICU beds. Governor Cuomo has asked that this facility go, and it's a big, beautiful facility, it be converted to a COVID hospital. And we hadn't done that yet. We hadn't thought in terms of doing that, but their real demand is for that. And we had meetings on it with the task force. We had meetings with the military. And I've decided to say, yes, I'm going to do that, that I will be signing and agreeing to a yes answer, so that we will be doing that, and also we will be staffing it. So the federal government is doing a lot of things that wasn't anticipated that it do. This is a 2,500 and/or 2,900 can easily be set up hospital built in Javits Center, and so we're going to be converting that to a COVID-19 hospital, and it's going to be staffed by the military and by the federal government. And based on the fact that I agreed to that, we had two other facilities that were likewise asking for it, and that would be in Louisiana and also in Dallas, and we'll be doing those. We spoke to the governor of Louisiana, spoke to the governor of Texas, and we've told them that we will be staffing those hospitals again above and beyond, but that's okay. We have to do that. In addition, the USNS Comfort is docked in New York to accept patients. That is a non-COVID. To date, FEMA has delivered more than 4 million N95 mask respirators. And think of that, 4 million. Don't forget, we're a secondary source. The states are doing it, and we're backing them up, but we've gotten 4 million N95 respirators, 1.8 million surgical masks, 460,000 face shields, 1.4 million gloves, and 4,400 ventilators just to the city and to the state of New York. And some of them now are being sent. I spoke with both Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio a little while ago, and some of them are being sent to the city. All of America stands with the people of New York in this time of need. It's definitely a hot spot, but we have other hot spots also, and we're taking care of them very, very strongly, very powerfully. We have the finest people in the world in those locations, and I think the federal government has not only acted early, but acted quickly, professionally. There's no people like this. Doctors, nurses, first responders, and other healthcare providers who want to help New York at this critical time should visit website nyc.gov/help-now. nyc.gov/help-now. They need help now. They need people to help them. We have great facilities, and we've built some brand-new facilities, big ones, but we need help. We need help for professional people. So if you're in an area that isn't so affected, and you're a doctor, a nurse, a healthcare worker, please get to that website, and we would really appreciate your help. New York City needs it. Louisiana, by the way, needs it. Michigan needs it. Whatever you can do, those are very strong hotspots. They need help. In recent weeks, as the virus has spread and economic hardship has followed, we have seen Americans unite with incredible selflessness and compassion. I want to remind everyone here in our nation's capital, especially in Congress, that this is not the time for politics, endless partisan investigations. Here we go again. Have already done extraordinary damage to our country in recent years. You see what happens. It's witch hunt after witch hunt after witch hunt. And in the end, the people doing the witch hunt have been losing, and they've been losing by a lot. It's not any time for witch hunts. It's time to get this enemy defeated. Conducting these partisan investigations in the middle of a pandemic is a really big waste of vital resources, time, attention, and we want to fight for American lives, not waste time and build up my poll numbers, because that's all they're doing, because everyone knows it's ridiculous. So we want to focus on the people of this country, even the people of the world. We're going to be able to help them, because right now, as an example, we're building so many ventilators, very, very hard to build, but we're building thousands of them. And a lot of them will be coming at a time when we won't need them as badly, because it takes time, very complex, very expensive, and we'll be able to help outside of our country. We think we'll be able to help. That's something that you cannot easily produce. As citizens, we're linked together by the shared bonds of national love, loyalty, and affection. There's no earthly force more powerful than the patriotic pride that stirs in our hearts, and that is so true. It's incredible the job that everybody's been doing, everybody. They don't sleep, they don't go to bed, sometimes they get nothing. Said to somebody recently on the task force, how many hours sleep have you gotten over the last couple of days? The answer was none. In one Massachusetts neighborhood, citizens come out of their homes each night at 8 o'clock from their porches, and they sing God Bless America. Others have joined in, spreading from house to house, down one street, up to the next, until their little town with a spirit of patriotism and reminding all Americans that we're all in this together. We'll fight together, and we will win together. We're going to win this. Now what I'd like to do is I'm going to step out. We have a meeting on this subject, and I'm going to step out just for a few moments. I'll be right back. We'll answer some questions. But you have some very hardworking people who have done an incredible job, led by Vice President Mike Pence, head of the task force, and then Jared Kushner is going to say a few words, and Admiral Polovchek, Peter Navarro, Dr. Birx, and myself. I'll be right back. So I'll see you in a little while. I did take a test. It just came out. This is from the White House physician. You may have it. Just came out. I just took it this morning. And I took it. It took me literally a minute to take it. And it took me I guess it was 14 or 15 minutes. I went to work. I didn't wait for it, but he said it took 14 minutes or something to come up with a conclusion. And it said the president tested negative for COVID-19. So that's the second one. I think I took it really out of curiosity to see how quickly it worked and fast it worked, and it's a lot easier. I've done them both. And the second one is much more pleasant, Jeff. I can tell you that. Much more pleasant. So I'll be back in a little while. And Mike, please take over. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I'll be right back.
Thank you, Mr. President. The White House Coronavirus Task Force met today, but earlier in the day, the President convened all the key elements of our supply chain team in the Oval Office for an update on the progress that we have been making, working literally around the clock to make sure that our healthcare workers, the people on the front lines, have the personal protective equipment and also the ventilators to be able to meet this moment. And today you're going to hear from the people that are literally working each and every day to make that happen. Dr. Deborah Birx is also with us. She'll reflect in a few moments on the progress that we're making analyzing the data. Each and every day we're looking county by county, state by state, consulting with governors and local health officials. At the present moment, more than 1.3 million tests have been performed, and as you all are aware, some 236,000 Americans have tested positive for the coronavirus, with now the losses over 5,000 Americans, and our hearts are with their families. Beyond that, we have been focusing not just on ensuring the testing is occurring, but that the supplies are flowing. As the President just announced, he made a decision today to deploy thousands of N95 masks directly to New York City's public hospitals, and our team will speak about that in just a moment. And also, the President took the unprecedented step to direct the Department of Defense to use military healthcare personnel to operate all COVID facilities at the Javits Center in New York, at the Convention Center in New Orleans, in Dallas. And we informed each of the governors of those states today that at their request, we were making those military medical personnel available to operate in all COVID facility. But we would emphasize the local health care provider will make the decision whether you are transferred to the Javits Center is entitled to have. Beyond that, let me say that we have been working through FEMA's acquisition promise. You will hear from Admiral John Polovchik about stock ventilators, and you'll hear today specifically about the states that have received those ventilators. This team has truly acted in an inspiring way, and literally is working with dozens and dozens of people at the FEMA Stabilization Task Force to make sure that we are leaving no stone unturned to find the supplies we need. Let me also say today you're going to hear from Jared Kushner, senior advisor to the President of the United States, but someone that the White House Coronavirus Task Force directed to work with FEMA on supply chain issues. And in recent weeks, he's been leading a working group in conjunction with FEMA that literally has identified millions of medical supplies around the nation and around the world, and we're grateful for his efforts and his leadership. Finally, you'll hear from Peter Navarro, who will explain the action the President took today using the Defense Production Act. But as you hear details today about medical supplies that have been distributed, those that have been purchased, those that we're making available, ventilators distributed to hospitals, and those that are available, let me just remind every American that you can make a difference in ensuring that every patient has the treatment that they deserve, every healthcare provider, every doctor and nurse's assistant has the protective gear to provide the care that you would want your family to have by putting into practice the President's 30 days to slow the spread. I mean, we want you to take to heart the President's coronavirus guidelines for America. First, to protect your own health, to protect the health of your family, to protect the health of your community. We know so many people are asymptomatic. and people that literally don't know they have the coronavirus but have the ability to infect others. We want you to put these guidelines into practice: social distancing, using a drive-thru at a restaurant, washing your hands on a regular basis. But as we focus today on supplies, make no mistake about it, every American can make sure that our healthcare workers, and more importantly, Americans that are struggling with coronavirus, have the equipment to support their treatment by putting these principles into practice. Because the fewer Americans that contract the coronavirus, the fewer Americans will have to enter our healthcare system. And that'll continue to preserve the capacity in our healthcare economy. So we thank the millions of Americans who've responded in the first 2 days of 30 days to slow the spread. And I'm just absolutely confident that in the days ahead, every American's going to do their part for your health, your family's health, the health of your community, and to ensure the strength and vitality of the greatest healthcare system in the world. With that, let me introduce Jared Kushner to speak about the work that he's been doing, working with FEMA on ensuring a strong supply chain to meet this moment. Jared?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you for your great leadership on the task force. And thank you to Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci as well. It's been an honor working with you these past few weeks. When the Vice President first asked me to help on the task force with different tasks, I asked the President what he expected from the task force and how I can best serve him and the task force. What the President asked is that all of the recommendations that we make be based on data. He wanted us to be very rigorous to make sure that we were studying the data, collecting data. A lot of things in this country were happening very quickly, and we wanted to make sure that we were trying to keep updating our models and making sure that we were making informed decisions and informed recommendations to him based on the data that we were able to collect and put together. The President wanted to make sure that we had the best people doing the best jobs and making sure that we had the right people focused on all of the things that needed to happen to make sure that we can deliver in these unusual times for the American people. The President also instructed me to make sure that I break down every barrier needed to make sure that the teams can succeed. This is an effort where the government is doing things that the government doesn't normally do. We're stretching, we're acting very quickly, and the President wants to make sure that the White House is fully behind the different people running the different lines of effort to make sure that we get everything done in a speed that the President demands. The President also wanted us to make sure we think outside the box, make sure we're finding all the best thinkers in the country, making sure we're getting all the best ideas, and that we're doing everything possible to make sure that we can keep Americans safe and make sure we bring a quick end to this in the best way possible and balance all the different aspects that need to be thought of while we do this. This truly is a historic challenge. We have not seen something like this in a very, very long time, but I am very confident that by bringing innovative solutions to these hard problems, we will make progress. Today, we were briefing the President earlier. He asked me to come out and talk a little bit about what we've been doing on the supply chain task force, which Admiral Plavchek has been leading. And what he's been very impressed by is the way that we've been resourceful to find product all over the world, all over the country, and we are finding ways to solve the different problems. The President's been very, very hands-on in this. He's really instructed us to leave no stone unturned. Just this morning, very early this morning, I got a call from the President. He told me he was hearing from friends of his in New York that the New York public hospital system was running low on critical supply. He instructed me this morning. I called Dr. Katz, who runs the system, asked him which supply was the most supply he was nervous about. He told me it was the N95 masks. I asked what his daily burn was, and I basically got that number. Called up Admiral Plavchek, made sure we had the inventory. We went to the President today, and earlier today the President called Mayor de Blasio to inform him that we were going to send a month of supply to the New York Public Hospital System to make sure that the workers on the front line can rest assured that they have the N95 masks that they need to get through the next month. We'll be doing similar things with all the different public hospitals that are in the hotspot zones and making sure that we're constantly in communications with the local communities. One thing I will say, just based on data, is that we've been getting a lot of data from different governors and from different mayors and from different cities. One thing I've seen FEMA do very, very well over the last week or so is now we're getting real-time data from a lot of cities, people who have requests for different products and supplies. A lot of them are doing it based on projections, which are not the realistic projections. The projections change every day as we see the cases, as we see the impacts of the Stop the Spread effort that this task force recommended and the President has been pushing forward. So I do think that we'll see that hopefully there'll be impact of that. And the task force has been working very hard through the FEMA group with Admiral Polovchek to make sure that we're getting the supplies to people before they run out and making sure that we're doing it in a proper way. I'd like to just introduce Admiral Polovchek, who before coming to this, I guess still is, he's the Vice Director for Logistics for the Joint Staff. I got a call from one of the senators saying, well, why don't you put a great military person in charge of the logistics and the supply chain and the Defense Production Act? And I said, well, the President already did that. This is the best man that we have in the country for supplies and logistics. He joined the task force 13 days ago over at FEMA, and he's built a team really at the direction of the Vice President that includes people from FEMA, OMB, the FDA, HHS, the White House, and from everywhere else. And what they've done over the last 13 days has been really extraordinary. We've done things that the government has never done before, quicker than they've ever done it before. And what we're seeing now is we found a lot of supplies in the country. We've been distributing them where we anticipate there will be needs, and also trying to make sure that we're hitting places where there are needs. So I can tell you the people in the task force, they're working day and night. You've got a lot of people in the government. We recognize the challenge that America faces right now. We know what a lot of the people on the front lines are facing, the fear that they have, that they won't have the supplies they need, and our goal is to work as hard as we can to make sure that we don't let them down. So I just want to thank everybody, and with that I'll introduce Admiral Polovchek, who's doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Mr. Kushner, Mr. Vice President. So today I'm going to cover a couple items, five things. First thing I'm going to talk about is resources pushed out from the federal government. And then I'm going to talk about this air bridge, which you may have heard about. I'm going to talk about data. As you said, Mr. Kushner is absolutely right. We're trying to be data-driven. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're trying to expand the industrial base here to meet this challenge. So the first thing I want to talk about is surgical masks. So we've all you've quickly stated numbers here. So these, I'm about to go through several different slides to give you just scale and magnitude of federal resources that have been applied at the problem. So 27.1 million surgical masks pushed out to state governments. For N95 masks, 19.5 million N95 masks. And so if I was in a local hospital that was running short, I would look upward because the federal government has pushed out resources. So for protective gloves, 22.4 million pairs of protective gloves. For face shields, 5.2 million face shields. For ventilators, we have pushed to the states more than 7,600 ventilators, and I think as I was coming over here, that number's changed slightly. I think it's now 7,640 given to these states, to the predominantly these states. So we wanted you to have some numbers. Now, as we've indicated, we had ventilators in the national stockpile. We pushed ventilators out. We're holding ventilators to put to the point of need, but we're also buying ventilators, asking the industrial base who produces approximately, prior to COVID, approximately 30,000 ventilators a year. We are going to, over the next several months, by the end of June, work to acquire 100,000. And so one of the tools that we're going to, I can anticipate needing, we've already executed, is all of those vendors that we're buying them from potentially will need help in their supply chains with their suppliers. We might rate orders, we might help them get ahead of others in that endeavor. So I think Mr. Navarro is going to talk a little bit more of that later. So let me talk about the air bridge. So it normally takes approximately 37 days to get from overseas, get product, load it, get it to the United States, and distribute it. That's about 37 days. So to prime the pump, so to speak, we have lined on an air bridge to get product here faster, working with our major suppliers as they work to fill orders to get more to healthcare workers now. We are working to align transportation to product. Now, one of the things we're also doing is the team that works for me are scouring the globe and finding pockets of personal protective equipment that might not otherwise be in the U.S. hospital supply chain. That is also going on these flights. 6 completed and a number scheduled. 28 flights scheduled here in the near future. We're working towards, some days we'll have 1 flight, some days there might be 2 flights, multiple flights over the next coming days. These 28 are, as far as I can see, out to a couple of weeks. Then again, matching product, 2 flights to create volume in the supply chain here faster than the 37 days. I'm just going to leave that up as I talk about a few other items. So let's talk about New York City and the public health hospitals. I believe they're called New York City Health and Hospitals. President directed, as I speak, there are pallets being formed, truck being loaded. I gave an address in New York City here an hour or 2 ago, and one of our distributors is making that happen, and that delivery will happen tomorrow. On the data front, this is almost unprecedented. This is a commercial supply chain with 6 to 7 major distributors of health equipment. We brought them all in, and we said we need to make informed decisions, and we are going to help make informed allocation decisions. So within the matter of days, feeding from their business systems, their enterprise resource-like systems, I brought on board a tool, a supply chain tower, that the DoD was using to manage a supply chain for a very complex weapon system. Their data goes into a data lake. We have a tool to be able to use their data and see it. I can tell what product is coming in, what their orders are, what they're filling, what they're not filling, and see the volume in the supply chain and understand what they're doing down to the county level. We're working to get it potentially down to the hospital level. So this 200 and some odd N95 respirators, we took a look in there in the supply chain, and we said we have the volume to go do that. I called the distributor, and they're making that happen. We anticipate, as the hotspots around the country, we anticipate these vendors at our direction helping them allocate product to the right place at the right time. So if I talk finally about expanding the industrial base. So the vice president was at Walmart the other day, who told him, I want to get in this game. How do I do that? So I got the call. We provided them specifications. And Walmart is going to use their suppliers to cut fabric, make gowns, sew product. But that's not always the case. We have lots of folks that want to help. I believe you will see in the coming days the use of the Defense Production Act in creative ways to help people that are not doing this today to do it. We have essentially leads. The number yesterday was 210. I believe it probably grew today, that we are working with to find how each one of those might need help to get in the game that's not in the game, to increase the throughput through the healthcare market. Again, the president gave me one task. get more to our healthcare workers now. And I took that to heart because I have, not that I don't need that from the president to that direction to move out, but I have family in New York. My sister's a nurse practitioner in a Westchester hospital. And my niece is a nurse on a Long Island hospital. And I have other healthcare professionals in the family. So I have skin in this game. And the president asked me to get more to the healthcare workers. I'm going to get more to healthcare workers. I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Navarro. The 200,000 is going out as we
Very
speak.
specific about that.
It'll be delivered tomorrow.
Let me be clear on that if I can. What Jared announced, what the Admiral just unpacked, is that pallets are being loaded right now to send 200,000 N95 masks to New York City, to the public health hospitals. So
To the public health warehouse in New York City.
all the healthcare workers, help is on the way.
But based on the tools and the data you have available to you, where is the logjam? Where has it been? How have you identified that? Because as you say, all this, millions more PPE is going out the door. As you well know, the frontline medical workers
I would answer you this way. We put up a lot of numbers. I said that if you're in a hospital and you're not seeing PPE, I would look up to the state level first.
From governors
We
sort of
aren't
saying they can't get the medical equipment that they need.
And the reason for that is because according to governors, and also by the fact that we haven't seen any numbers up there about what is going to the private sector, can you tell us what percentage of the supplies on these large cargo planes are going to private companies versus FEMA versus the states?
So FEMA's,
Is it 80%?
This product that we're moving is primarily commercial product that would enter the commercial system and be distributed through financial business transactions between hospitals and these distributors.
So just to clarify, that explains why states say they're bidding like they're on eBay, because the supplies are going to the private sector, and then they have to go there to get the supplies.
That's normally how things work, right? So I'm not here to disrupt a supply chain. So look, these 6 distributors, 6, 7, they have 600 to 700 warehouses. They have trucks to go to the hospital door every day. We're bringing product in. They're filling orders for hospitals, nursing homes, like normal. I'm putting volume into that system. I would say that we have the data now. So we put together this data element over the last, 13 days. Get the people in, look at the problem, build this. I am now seeing truth about what's in the supply chain, and I would say that there's been some abnormal behavior. Okay?
Yes, thank you, Admiral. House Oversight Committee Democrats say that FEMA officials told them that the ventilators that the government has ordered won't be ready until June, which is well after the expected peak. Will the Defense Production Act memo signed today do anything to speed that up?
Yes, I will. Mr. Navarro will talk about that. We're online to receive several thousand ventilators in the month of April and several thousand more ventilators in the month of May, ramping up to a big number in June. Again, going from an industry that produces about 30,000 annual to a very big number.
Are you confident that the system means the states with the greatest need are getting the supplies?
Yes.
So a lot of governors are saying that they can't get what they need, and different states have more pressing urgency, obviously, depending on the case.
So we're marrying up where CDC, where the demand for COVID is, to what's in the commercial system. We're providing that to the commercial system, and we are making allocations to those of most pressing need. 13 days, we now have the data, we now can make informed decisions, and so all of the I need, I now know the volume that has been happening and needs to be happening.
So Admiral, with that, and Mr. President, I'd love for you to weigh in on this as well. You talk about, well, you alluded to the fact there is possibly some shady business going on, that the product is here in the United States.
And coming here.
Yes, and it is coming here. It's coming from China, it's in warehouses, it's being made here in the United States, it's in warehouses, but it's going to the highest bidder. So, what can be done to keep those products here in the United States, not go overseas where companies are making a lot of money, and get it distributed to the most critical places here in the U.S. I would love to hear
when the time comes
from, how's that being done? Because doctors, I've talked to surgeons on a regular basis.
Let me give you the bigger view of the DPA, and we'll directly address that. What we have essentially is a nation at war. We have a wartime president standing behind me. The Defense Production Act is one of the most powerful weapons this administration can use to fight the invisible enemy of the virus. When I spoke with you last week, I explained the 3 points of the compass DPA can be used to hit. The first one is mobilization of the industrial base. This can involve things like repurposing from, say, a distiller like Pernod Ricard, from liquor to hand sanitizer. It can also involve expansion of production, which is having Honeywell, which makes N95 masks, open a new factory in Smithfield, Rhode Island. With respect to the second point of the compass, allocation of resources, we have 2 issues there. If you look at the manufacturer itself, what you want to make sure is that the supply chain, which can go 7 tiers deep, has enough components in that supply chain so we can actually make what we need. And then once it's made, you also want to make sure that it goes to the right people. And then the third point of the compass, which addresses what you're talking about, is basically bust them, I call it, hoarding of critical or threatened materials. So let me walk through what the President did today in terms of a strong action, what we've done, DPA across those 3 points. The first order President Trump signed was vigorous, swift. It was the GM order which directed GM to make ventilators in Kokomo, Indiana in Trump time, which is to say as fast as possible. As the President mentioned, he spoke to Mary Barra today, the CEO of GM. That is moving forward at the same time as the Ford project is moving forward in Rawsonville, Michigan, and I've issued a challenge to those 2 companies, a la Ford versus Ferrari. This is Ford versus GM. Let's see who gets those ventilators out first. Now, the second point of the compass, which these 2 orders address today, is this allocation of resource issues. The ventilator companies themselves expressed concern that in this rush to build ventilators, there would be pressure on that supply chain. So what they requested that we do and the President do is to use the DPA to give this gentleman here, who's one of the strongest gentlemen in the world in terms of applying things, is to give him the ability to prioritize that supply chain for those ventilator manufacturers. And he will do things like give them what's called a DO rating in the defense procurement, which will allow them to get what they need. Now, the second order, which the President signed today, has to do with the other part of the equation, which is once they make the stuff, okay, where does it go to the right folks? And this is a 3M order. And to be frank, over the last several days, we've had some issues making sure that all of the production that 3M does around the world, enough of it is coming back here to the right places. So what's going to happen with the signing of that order in Trump time is we're going to resolve that issue with 3M probably by tomorrow close of business, because we can't afford to lose days or hours, even minutes in this crisis. Now, the third part of the compass, this third point there, this gets to the hoarding issue. The President stood up here with he's the commander-in-chief. But we have a sheriff in town, too, Attorney General Barr. And he stood up here with Attorney General Barr, and Bill Barr said, I'm going to go out and bust him. And guess what? 3 days ago, DOJ went into a warehouse in Jersey, grabbed PPE, And the beauty of that, wasn't only seized, but within hours, it was turned around and given to healthcare professionals in New York and New Jersey. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful case of using the DPA. Now, what's going to happen tomorrow is the President's going to sign another order, which is in the works. This is interesting. There is a black market springing up, which you have described, where we're having people bid against each other. Brokers come in. They're bidding and bidding on all this different PPE. It's driving the price up. And guess what? You know where it's going? The domestic sources here are being exported.
That's what brokers
When
are
President
doing
Trump
directly.
heard about that, he said, that's not going to happen anymore under my watch. So tomorrow, we're bringing that order, and what it's going to do is it's going to empower Customs and Border Protection with the help of people like the Post Office and express mail consigners like UPS to basically deal with that issue. So we are going to crack down unmercifully. And I would say to the hoarders out there, the brokers who are trying to make money off the misery of people in this country or around the world, that's got to stop. But if you've got inventory, what you need to do is pick up a phone and not call somebody out around the world. You call FEMA and say, we got some stuff, we'll give it to you at a fair price, and be done with that, because that stuff has absolutely got to stop. So hang on. So that's what we're going to be looking for, and when we hear cases like this, we're going to aggressively issue order after order to crack down on it. Now, this is not my role to take a bunch of questions, but let me tell you one other thing before I leave the podium. It's a story which I'd love to share with you today. The key principles of this president and this vice president, which is to wed the full force of the federal government with the full power of private enterprise. And just 2 days ago, we at the White House got an urgent SOS from the chief of police of the New York Police Department. And they are in a situation now, because of the strain on their resources, into houses and deal with COVID issues without protective gear. Now, the beauty of this president is the 2 phone calls. The first one went to Phoebe Novakovic at General Dynamics. Phoebe, can you call Tom Kennedy at Raytheon? I need you guys to basically scoop up all the Tyvek suits you can and find any gloves you can. This president, under his leadership, and the voluntary efforts and the pride and patriotism you talked about earlier, that we had 4,000 Tyvek suits delivered to the New York PD within 16 hours. That's a new record in Trump time. At the same time, a second phone call was made to Tara Engel at Pernod Ricard and Laura Lane at UPS. They were on the same phone call, and I said, Tara, Laura, we got this issue. They need hand sanitizer. Literally, within 2 hours, we had 50-gallon drums, 6,000 gallons of hand sanitizer on a UPS truck heading up to the NYPD, and it probably arrived today with a promise from Pernod that they will continue to supply the NYPD throughout the course of this crisis. So this is a beautiful thing that America is rallying to. We are becoming a stronger, more united nation, and I couldn't be more proud of this president, this administration. These guys up here are doing a heck of a job organizing the supply chain. And my promise to you is that the president is going to use that DPA to make sure that the American people, particularly our healthcare professionals, get the PPE, the medicines, everything we need. So let me stop there. I don't think it's my place here to field a bunch of questions.
Good job. Thank you.
Okay.
What's the status of the Buy American executive order?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Ed, sure, you go ahead.
Okay.
Come here.
One of the things that this crisis has taught us, sir, is that we are dangerously over-dependent on a global supply chain. For our medicines, like penicillin, our medical supplies, like masks, and our medical equipment, like ventilators. We have, right now, as we speak, over 50 countries have already imposed some forms of export restrictions in their country against the rest of the world. And what we're learning from that is that no matter how many treaties you have, no matter how many alliances, no matter how many phone calls, when push comes to shove, you run the risk as a nation of not having what you need. And if there's any vindication of the President's Buy American, secure borders, and a strong manufacturing base philosophy, strategy, and belief, it is this crisis, because it underscores everything that we see there. So the Buy American order, which is going through process, would do a couple things. It would simply say, not during this crisis, because we don't want to disrupt anything. I want to be really clear about that. But going forward, after this is over, the VA, DOD, HHS, and this government buys American for essential medicines, our medical countermeasures, and the medical supplies and equipment we need. At the same time, it will deregulate so we can get the FDA and EPA to facilitate domestic manufacturing, and then innovate. Because the key here is having advanced manufacturing on U.S. soil that can leapfrog other countries, so we don't have to worry about competing against cheap sweatshop labor, lax environmental regulations,